You are listening to the Icehouse podcast, hosting conversations with gritty Kiwi business owners and leaders and industry-leading minds.
Kia ora everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Icehouse podcast. And today I have Geoff Bourke with me. He is an owner-manager program 47 alumni and the managing director of Energyworks. So really looking forward to hearing his story and how he found the program and what his career journey has looked like as well. So thanks heaps, Geoff, for being on the podcast.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for the invite.
No worries. Very cool. And am I right in thinking you're based in Taranaki?
Yes, we got HQ in New Plymouth here. So, we do a fair bit of work outside of the region, but it's HQ for the time being.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Well, I like to start off with quite an open question just to get to know you a little bit. And that's, tell us a bit about yourself. What are you passionate about?
Yeah, cool. So, I guess a bit about myself. I'm a Taranaki local. I grew up on a farm here. Went to school, boarding school in New Plymouth, and then went away for 10 or 12 years, got an engineering degree from Canterbury Engineering and partly over in University of British Columbia in Vancouver as well. Pretty keen on travel. I was fairly fortunate that mum and dad instilled that into us kids from a young age. We were fortunate to do a fair bit of travel, so heading away even between high school and uni, did a gap year to the UK, obviously a bit of time doing the tertiary education overseas, and then went back to the UK to work for 4 years as well. So got a fair bit of the travel bug sorted early on,
Cool.
But then the home called, and my wife-to-be and I came back from the UK in 2011. I've been back in New Plymouth ever since.
Awesome. Very cool. Where was the last trip that you guys went on?
I guess, well, now that I've, generation ahead now, got my own little tribe of kids. So we just went camping down to a local beach over the summer, which was pretty cool. So
Beauty.
Yeah, at that age where the kids kind of enjoy getting out in the campsites, which was nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Cool to hear.
Mm.
And to give us sort of a bit of perspective on your work week, your work day, what does a day in the life of Geoff look like?
Yeah, pretty dynamic, I guess, like most business leaders. It's not very scripted to a point. But I guess it's just a bit of a balance between working in the here and now and of the business. What are the key priorities in the sort of 1 day to 3 week time horizon versus, looking at that more 6 months to 24 months ahead time horizon and splitting your time accordingly between that. Probably more heavily weighted towards that shorter time period at the moment. And then also obviously investing in yourself, making sure you got some time to do the things that you're passionate about doing on any given day, as well as giving back to the family as well. So you've got 4 young kids, my wife and I, so there's a fair bit of running around and sports and events and dancing and all that sort of stuff that fills up the afternoon. So I normally get a phone call from Michelle at about 4 or 4:30 telling me where I'm going and who I need to pick up and what I need to do on my way home from work. But that's all part of it. It's a pretty busy life at the moment, but it's very fulfilling as well.
Awesome. Oh, cool to hear. It's busy, but really fulfilling. And lots going on in and outside of the work, which is cool to hear. Sort of following from that, I guess, what is that sense of purpose in life, that personal sense of purpose for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I don't think you know that necessarily on the outset of your professional career. It takes time to understand what that question really means and what the answer to it is. I think I really don't like letting people down. That's been instilled in me from mum and dad. So if I make a commitment to do something, really, really want to follow through to deliver on that. And I think that's a key kind of message within the business here is if we make a commitment, we follow through. And that slowly builds credibility by doing that over and over again. Personally, I really like seeing capacity growth in individuals. So having been on this course myself and, getting the positive outcomes I got out of it, we've put a lot of our team through the leadership development program or the emerging leaders program as well. So you sort of start to sing off the same hymn sheet, I guess, when, a key part of your management team have all sort of been to that same training. I think, for me personally, I'm driven by, I guess I've got 3 sort of pillars to allow me to be the best I can be at work and the best I can be at home, which is, pretty simple stuff. It's really sleep, nutrition, and exercise. If I get those three things about right, then I know I can personally be in the best headspace to help and lead others. So what I ultimately try and wrap that up in is one little saying, which is try and create more value than you take. And I think that stands very true, whether it's just at home or in your community or at work. If you're taking more value than you create, then you're starting to erode value, and that's going to come and unravel itself pretty quickly. Whereas if you create more value than you take, then you're creating a sustainable, model that's got some longevity about it. So you can read into that what you will, but I think that's a couple of cheap words that actually mean a hell of a lot to me, and try and anchor against that for a lot of the things that I do.
There's some real gold in that. Did it take was it quite a journey to work that out for you, especially those pillars in terms of actually I need sleep, nutrition, exercise to function as a human being, as a dad, as a
totally
leader?
Yeah. I mean, say for the for all of my 20s, I was, without really knowing it, I was just investing in my own capability. I wasn't looking to buy into a business. Those opportunities, I guess, present themselves as you grow, and convince others that you're a trustworthy individual and have got some value to add. So as you get into your 30s and nearing your 40s, I think some of those bigger picture questions start playing in your mind, particularly when you've got young kids, and you slowly start to define what you're about and what's important, and how you can be a contributing part of a community, whether that is a business community or a social community or education, schooling, whatever it is. Those things start to materialize and have a bit more meaning as you mature and create a bit of wisdom, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's really cool to hear. Yeah, very cool. I want to hear a bit more about your involvement in Energyworks, and you sort of alluded to sort of buying into a business and that sort of thing, but would love to hear, a bit about the business itself and how you got involved.
Yeah, sure. So when I came back from the UK, I guess Taranaki's, historically been a fairly strong energy province, driven by oil and gas. Whilst that's changing now somewhat, I worked for one of the big corporate oil and gas companies for 6 years, and had dealt with Energyworks a lot as a supplier to that big company that I worked for. So I knew the company fairly well. It sold in 2014 to a private equity firm, but I sort of was using the previous owner as a bit of a mentor at that stage. He knew, I guess, that I was starting to get a bit itchy feet and was kind of keen to get out of the corporate world and pave my own course. And he brought the business back in 2017. So it just, it's one of those stories of timing, I guess. It was perfect timing for me, because he didn't want to work in the business longer term. He was ready to retire not too far down the track, and I guess I became his succession plan. So I managed to come in 3 months after he brought the business back, and then sort of did a 12-month apprenticeship, I guess you'd call it, in terms of proving my worth. And then it was literally a handshake deal that if I did prove my worth, there'd be an opportunity to buy into the business, and that materialised over the next couple of years. And he's sort of backed out of the business now, so I've sort of got full autonomy. Not full autonomy, he's still on at a director level, and a great reference and mentor still for me, but generally the day-to-day running and the strategy of the business is, it sits at my level and with the senior leadership team here. So it's a nice story. It's worked out well for both of us, and ultimately it remains a locally owned business after it was brought back from the private equity firm, and something quite nice about that in a small community to still be locally owned and providing good employment to 150, 160 people.
Yeah, no, that's significant. And like you said, a really nice story of local business, and the fact that you guys had a relationship beforehand as well, in that mentoring sense, and to continue that going, and for it to turn out how it has today is a pretty cool story to hear, to be honest. What's a piece of advice you'd give yourself back then, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, it's a great question as well. I think you hear a lot of people say that there's no silver bullet in life, and I think that's mostly right, but I feel like there's possibly one, and that's education. Like I think
awesome.
if you are well educated, if you're given the opportunity to get a great education and disciplined and executing on taking that learning, then you can lift yourself, very easily in one generation from, I guess, one point in the social ladder to another point. And, I look back now and I feel like I've been afforded that through what my parents encouraged me to do. So I think, trust that education has a massive bearing on your life. Take every opportunity. And that's not just your traditional primary, secondary, tertiary education. It's every day, just, be a sponge learning from other people. And I think, you got to think about investing in yourself, no different to investing in a share market or in a business. But I think an investment in yourself in the long term will pay greater dividends than some of those other traditional transactional investments. So, yeah, I think if I was talking to school leavers or early 20-year-olds now, I'd just really, really reinforce how important education is.
Yeah, wow, that's good to hear. It's very true. It definitely opens up doors, right? And gives discipline and things post high school, which is definitely a huge piece of the puzzle.
And creates networks as well. Like, you can't underestimate the value of a network. Like, I went through engineering school and heaps of my classmates are now in similar positions that I am, business leaders around the country, and it's an amazing network for me to call into them when you need align resources in some part of the country or share problems or whatever. It's that network's very, very powerful.
Yeah, so true. I'd love to hear what's something that you were proud of achieving last year in 2023.
Yeah, I think I've probably sort of coming to about the 5-year mark of being managing director, and I think 5 years is quite a good window of having plans and targets. So sort of coming to the end of that, there's a lot of both sort of CapEx spend and just systems improvements in the business. And a lot of those systems improvements probably were motivated off going on that OMP, owner manager program. And so getting towards the end of them has been quite satisfying. They're not overly glamorous projects, a lot of that in-house change, IT systems, plant management, values, culture, important stuff, but don't necessarily get the headlines. Getting through that, and I guess it's ultimately trying to set the business up for the next 20 years, and being kind of a, contemporary with all the right, systems and processes. That's been really good to get to the end of that. And I guess it's now you're looking at that, what's the next 5 years hold and what are the key kind of targets and deliverables that we need to be working towards. We won a reasonably significant health and safety national award last year at the workplace health and safety awards, which was pretty cool. And we work in a very high hazard industry, like many companies, around a lot of high pressure, highly explosive materials that we are exposed to every day. So there's a lot of focus on process controls and hazard mitigation. So to get some recognition of that was pretty cool. And probably at a personal level, I jumped into the Coast to Coast event this time last year, and managed to get from one side of the South Island to the other in one piece, which was, a lot of training went into that. So to get that done was a pretty cool personal target achieved. Yeah,
absolutely. That's huge, coast to coast. And like you said, a lot of training goes in behind the scenes there too. But awesome. Cool to hear. No, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. And great to reflect, right, on a year, because sometimes those wins can be celebrated and then quickly sort of forgotten. So cool to be able to reflect on that.
Yeah, you're right. You don't actually look back that often. You sort of just on to the next thing. But,
for sure. With that too, resonating with other SMEs listening, the last couple of years have been challenging at times. What has been a challenge within the business for you guys, and how did you overcome that challenge?
Yeah, I guess that stuff that everyone's been through in the last couple of years, that's pretty obvious. It's probably not worth talking about that too much. I think our big challenge, and it's still happening now, is, this transition, the decarbonisation journey. We're a business that's historically been pretty wedded to the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
That's obviously going to curtail and sunset at some stage in the next 10 or 20 or 30 years, who knows? But so, we need to do more, I guess, business development outside of the region, creating new networks and client relationships, and having a delivery proposition that's cost competitive outside of Taranaki, but sort of trying to still stick in that heavy industry space. So over the last couple of years, we've made a concerted effort to get in front of other big heavy industry players in the country, and I guess pitch our delivery model, and it's slowly working. You've got to work hard to get in front of some of those companies and get contracts in place, but that delivery model of having mostly Taranaki work to, at the moment the majority is outside of the region. There's a lot of HR issues that come with that when you've got a workforce that's been used to going home every night that potentially might have to spend the week on the road every other week is a step change. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we're going through at the moment, after not having to do that much work out of the region in the last 20, 25 years.
Totally. And it's looking at that long-term approach, to where the industry is going to head.
Yeah, that's right.
Just next year. Yeah.
Yeah. And we I guess you keep your eyes open to how you need to pivot and diversify, but ultimately we still want to stay in the high quality control end of plumbing, for lack of a better word, and very niche areas of that. So they're still there. It's just you need to be a bit more nimble and keep that network wider.
Yeah, for sure. Cool that you guys understand your niche and, have drilled down into what it is for you guys and what you offer and that sort of thing too. I think that's really great to hear. Would love to hear, changing gears a little bit, to hear about how you connected with the Icehouse. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so it was when I came into the business, the owner he'd been on the OMP previously, so it was pretty straightforward. I guess he had a good experience on it and suggested that I go on it.
Great.
So I obviously said yes to that, and what happened. It was all it's all pretty straightforward. There's nothing too complex. So I think he'd seen the value in it, and certainly I
jumped on.
Can vouch for that as well. I had a really good crew, and learned a lot. I think looking to one of those other questions, I think whilst you all come from different business backgrounds, you take away the technical aspect of what you're building or selling or whatever, everyone's kind of still facing the same challenges in terms of recruitment of staff and trying to build a better culture and how to communicate better and all that sort of stuff. So that was one thing I probably took away, was forget about what the actual specifics of what you're buying or selling. It's all business owners generally can confide in each other over a lot of similarities.
It blows my mind, like being in the role, the fourth year in the role now, seeing so many business owners from different industries coming together, but yet taking so much of the same from it and implementing it into their business. There's so many of the similar challenges or opportunities across every industry for business owners to talk about, bounce ideas around, discuss the highs and lows. So that's very cool to hear. Did anything surprise you about the program? Because I don't know, sometimes, especially if you haven't seeked out the program yourself, and it's, we see this a lot, it's something that another owner's done or you're putting a leader on it. Was there anything that surprised you?
No, I guess probably just what was spoken about was when I went in, I didn't expect there to be such similarity of conversation around some of those key things. But
cool.
I was relatively young in my business ownership journey, so I think I went in fairly open-minded without taking any preconceived ideas in there. So and as you should, I guess, as a bit of advice to anyone else who's going or looking to go on the course, you definitely want to go in keeping an open mind and being free to share information. I mean, that some people were very free with the information, and it was a pretty strong welcoming point when you got there on the first morning in our case, and some people telling their stories were broke down in tears because their journey had been so just so much involved in it, and you could see the passion and what it had meant to them to get their business to where it was today. So that was, when you meet that on day one, you quickly realise that you're amongst some pretty impressive people, and you should sit down and listen up, but be prepared to tell your story as well, because that's there's a lot of motivation in hearing those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. That vulnerability, from day one.
Yeah.
I haven't been in many rooms where I've seen, that before, just how open business owners can be together, because they're in a room of others that get it. So
yes. Yeah. Because it can be a lonely journey. If you don't have other shareholders that you can bounce off within the same building, you take a hell of a lot home with you every day, and a lot sitting on your shoulders, a lot of responsibility for the employment of a lot of people at times. So I think talking about it with people who understand it's good therapy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Definitely. I want to ask as well, how have you found putting leaders on programs, on our leadership development program? You mentioned singing the same tune and that sort of thing. Has that helped when it comes to making changes within the business?
Yeah, I think it has. If you're singing from the same hymn sheet, it's, that messaging can get across a hell of a lot easier. One of the big takeaways from me was actually communication. It's a word that's thrown around so free and easily, but it really, I came away from the course having a deeper understanding of the importance of communication. You really, whether that's internal or external, you can't do anything without communicating what you need to be done. So, it's one of the changes, I guess, in the business we've made, is just being very structured around how we communicate and what are the outcomes you want from that piece of communication. Is it best to be done face to face, or through pictures, or through a drawing? There's different forms of communication, and that's really where everything starts. If you can't communicate, then you're not going to get anything done. So, but now that the majority of our management team have been through the course, or part, either the LDP or the ELP, I think they're called.
Yeah.
At least everyone's had a snippet of kind of where I'm coming from, so they can understand the science behind it, I guess you can say, and everyone's a lot more willing to understand and follow that kind of direction that I'm wanting to lead the company in.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that's so helpful. It's really practical. And to be able to have people just support the same vision and get behind the same language and techniques, it's really cool to hear. I want to throw in an extra question for you, because it's sort of sparked just from curiosity from chatting. You've got a lot going on as a business owner during your day. Do you have any methods to switch off before coming home to 4 kids?
I guess the phone call from Michelle is the start of the switch off period. So where am I going? Who am I picking up? Where are they getting dropped off? I've definitely got better at not picking up my phone or opening my laptop up after dinner. I try really hard not to do any work from home now.
Right.
But really, I think having a busy house with 4 kids kind of helps you. You're sort of forced to shut off. There's something else going on as soon as you get home. But, for me, sticking to those, the exercise, nutrition, sleep sort of pillars, the exercise is probably the key one. If I don't do that, then I really start to spiral downhill pretty quickly. So, it's a great way to switch off, I guess, getting into that sort of adventure racing and off-road running. We're blessed with some beautiful natural environment down here. To get up on the mountain for a run or out on the river for a kayak, that's the best way to switch off for me.
Yeah, being in nature. Yeah.
And now being able to, I guess the kids are sort of at an age where you can start to share some of those adventures as well, which is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's special. No, that's cool to hear. Nice. Want to finish with this question. What's a personal and professional goal that you're currently working towards in the future?
I think professionally it's kind of the start of that next 5-year period, and I haven't done this yet, but it's really what are the big investments that we need to make in the business structurally, and where do we want to be going in terms of revenue streams. So that's probably the big professional one. And then personally, I've got a couple other events coming up that I'm sort of throwing around whether I have a crack at. I think maybe I might curse myself if I say it on here, but sort of tempting whether I have a crack of doing the coast to coast in 1 day instead of 2 days. If I can get a ticket to that through the ballot.
Wow.
And then probably at a personal level, it's just getting the kids stuck in some really good, healthy adventure stuff.
Cool.
Just I guess very different world they're growing up in. So I want to make sure that they use technology and devices for what they're there to be used for from a beneficial point of view, but making sure they have plenty of active passions away from the screen as well.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure we invest enough time in them.
Oh no, that's so cool to hear. So balanced. And I think a lot of listeners would love to, just hearing the realities of being a business owner, but also a dad and, all those things as well. I think it's a great conversation to have. And appreciate you sharing those personal and professional goals, and all the best for those in this year ahead. And thanks heaps for sharing your story on the Icehouse podcast. It's been great to get to know you more, Geoff.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Bryar.